Estee Lauder announcing plans to cut up to 7,000 jobs after reporting declining sales. The cuts are part of a restructuring under the company's new CEO. The cosmetics giant also forecasting third quarter profit below estimates.
The Wall Street Journal just reporting that Walmart plans to cut 1,500 jobs to help manage expenses and speed up decision making. This after all these retailers this morning raising concerns over the impact of tariffs.
According to multiple reports, Blue Origin will cut the workforce by 10%. More than 10,000 people work for Blue. So we're talking about at least 1,000 jobs being cut here. CEO David Limp said the layoffs are the result of the company's planning for 2025 and the need for sustainable growth.
Kohl's is making cuts. The company is eliminating hundreds of jobs at the Menominee Falls headquarters.
Many workers just found out that they no longer have a job. The Wisconsin-based company announced today that the move is an effort to increase profits and remain competitive as a retail chain.
Salesforce, they're cutting more than 1,000 jobs, and instead they're going to hire salespeople to sell their artificial intelligence products. Impacted workers are going to be able to apply for other jobs internally. The Salesforce has been investing heavily and moving towards AI over the past 2 years. There's also a report that Cruise is going to be laying off nearly half of their employees. The layoffs come after General Motors announced it's moving away from the robo-taxi business. The company instead focusing on developing its partially automatic driver assist systems, which allow drivers to take their hands off the wheels. And also new this morning, we've just learned HR and employee management platform Workday, they're going to cut more than 1,700 jobs. That equals about 8.5% of their workforce. According to an open letter from Workday's CEO, the cuts are part of the company's drive towards artificial intelligence.
Well, more Bay Area layoffs. Chevron is eliminating 600 positions from its former headquarters in San Ramon. In a notice to the state, Chevron says the layoffs are part of efforts to streamline its organizational structure, improve operational efficiency, and enhance long-term competitiveness.
More changes are coming to Dallas-based Southwest Airlines, this time job cuts at airports across the country and what the company is calling a restructuring.
About 120 employees are being given three choices: relocate to another city, apply for a different job within the company, or take a severance package and leave Southwest altogether.
Facebook's parent company Meta is planning layoffs. Today, the social media company confirmed it will cut 5% of its total staff this year. That'll amount to about 3,600 people. The layoffs will be based on performance, and new employees will be hired to replace those that are laid off.
Major layoffs for UPS. By next month, 20,000 workers will lose their job, and that's on top of several facilities set to close.
UPS expected to reduce the company's estimated 490,000 employees by 20,000 positions in 2025 and close 73 leased and owned buildings by the end of June.
Microsoft tells us it's laying off 3% of its global workforce. This is across all geographies and all levels of employment. This appears to be its largest cuts since early 2023. It laid off 10,000 employees. Based on the last count of employees that we have, this would be about 6,000 employees with these global cuts. As for why this is happening, Microsoft tells us in a statement, we continue to implement organizational changes necessary to best position the company for success in a dynamic marketplace.
So why did I choose to quit my software engineering job at Expedia rather than wait to get laid off and potentially get a severance package? It's funny you asked this question. Story time. Expedia went through a pretty significant round of layoffs the last week of April in the engineering departments, and I think it bleeded over into the finance department as well. Majority of people at Expedia knew that these layoffs were coming. It had been rumored for months. They just kept dragging it out and dragging it out. Rewinding to the beginning of March, I was put on a PIP, which stands for Performance Improvement Plan, which if you know, you know. A PIP is basically, we call it paid interview period, because if your job puts you on a PIP, they're trying to fire you. They're trying to officially fire you with cause. And so I was put on a 3-month PIP. And I think it's because Expedia was really pushing return to office, and I was a permanently remote employee, and I had no offices near me. There was no chance that I could return to the office at all.
So that's a theme, guys. That's a thing that I've been seeing, that they called it a silent layoff, kind of like silent quitting was a thing. Is where companies, they want to lay you off and they're trying to find a way to do it. So they do workarounds as opposed to just saying you're fired. So essentially there's one way to do it is put you on a PIP, like she said, performance improvement plan, meaning there are some expectations that you haven't met in your performance review and you're given a certain amount of time to rectify those things. And if you don't, then you get the axe. One way they do it. Other way she's talking about is the forced return to office, because they know that some people aren't going to be able to return no matter what. And by just nature of the fact they can't return, they're going to leave. So it's a way for a company to kind of in a sideways way or a roundabout way fire you.
It is so stinking messed up how these big, stupid companies keep completely screwing over their workforce in order for them to make even more money than they currently do. So perfect example, I was talking to one of my friends today. She works over at DoorDash, and she was telling me how her and pretty much the whole sales team over there right now is just getting completely screwed over. And it's a long, complicated story that I don't know all the details of, but pretty much what it sounds like is happening. People are just getting screwed over from hitting their quotas, screwed over from getting their commission checks and their bonuses, and even people getting screwed over that they might get fired because if you don't hit your quota, you're at risk of getting fired. But what this really is just another backdoor layoff situation where the company apparently needs to downsize, which I don't quite understand. And instead of laying people off and paying them severance, they get their employees to hate them. So they go and quit on their own. Because if we thought layoffs were bad, like this is like one step farther that is just like so freaking screwed up that you just make your company so unethical to work at that you just want all your employees to quit.
Okay, so more of the same. I mean, these companies, and again, I'm not talking bad about any company in specific or in particular. I'm just saying this from a general perspective that these are some of the techniques that seem to be used by big companies now to effectively save themselves money on both sides. They're cutting the labor force because they want to reorganize or restructure. And so they're getting rid of jobs because they want to do that. Or maybe AI is a new thing, so they want to push AI to do certain things they don't need people for anymore. And in a way to try to avoid paying these employees that they laid off through unemployment or severance packages, they're trying to find ways to get the employees to quit on their own volition or to find ways to fire them because of cause, i.e. a PIP. So that's what these companies are doing now. As you can see from the intros, you can see from these two people here. It's just a thing that's happening. And it's unfortunate because it's like, where's the loyalty? Again, I said this in multiple videos. Where's the loyalty now? It doesn't exist. And I said also in multiple videos that they expect you to give a 2 weeks notice, and you're kind of like, and again, I always give 2 weeks notice because I know the game. I always say that. But again, it makes you think to yourself, why is it expected that you give the loyalty and you give the heads up, whereas they don't necessarily have to? Although you can maybe look at a PIP as being your heads up. If you don't get together, you're going to get the axe. But she has a point. A lot of them are trying to make it so difficult that you want to quit. Or again, they might try to get you back into the office when you've been working remote for the last 7 years. And they're like, you know what, we need to downsize. Let's try to get all these people that live in across the country and that can never come back in the office realistically unless they relocate to come in full time 5 days a week. And you're like, well, obviously you're trying to get rid of me.
Good, Dan. How are you?
Good. I don't know if we've met before. Thanks for leading us today. I can't remember if we've met in a previous time. I don't know that we have, but I'm a partner in our technology and transformation practice. And I've asked Shannon here from our people team to join us too. And I'm assuming you're in a spot where you can talk here for a bit.
Yeah. I have time.
Good. Well, so you may have heard over the past several months, we've been working to transform areas of the firm and align our workforce to really kind of accelerate our business strategy. And as consulting business, it's important for us to kind of remain competitive and, position ourselves for the future. And so this exercise that the firm's going through, it's involved a lot of moving talent and skill sets to the right areas where we need them the most. And it's also required us to make some tough decisions that do impact the workforce. And unfortunately, as a result, after a lot of careful consideration, your role is being eliminated, and that employment ends on October 18th, and we'll obviously handle notifying all the relevant team members and other stakeholders as we need to. And I just I want to be the kind of wanted to tell you here and just give you that team to join us too.
Okay, so this is one of the big four accounting firms, it looks like. PwC, Ernst & Young, I can't remember the other two off the top of my head right now. I don't know which one of the four it is, but it's a major company and it's a consulting firm. And it looks like they're laying them off using the same legalese jargon, not legalese, the same corporate jargon they always use. Aligning their workforce to accelerate business strategy. Like, what does that even mean? Aligning their workforce to accelerate business strategy. And then they also said moving talent areas and skill sets to areas where they need them the most. Oh man, listen, whenever he first started the call by saying I've asked so-and-so from the people team, meaning HR, to join the call, he already knew what it is anyways. That's why you saw him look up to the left or to the right going, okay, I know what's about to happen. And he probably knew it beforehand anyways. And then for them to tell him all this corporate jargon about, yeah, we're realigning and restructuring and blah, 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 blah. Just, bro, tell me I'm losing my job. You know what I mean? And again, I'm not one of those guys that's like, eat the rich, corporate America's terrible, all that kind of stuff. That's not me. But when I watch stuff like this, I'm like, dude, we know what's going on. We know layoffs are happening left and right. We know companies are downsizing. We know companies are trying to increase profits while somehow decreasing, I guess, expenses, because employees are one of the biggest expenses. And you always have to innovate and continually get better yourself so that you continue to be marketable and sought after in the job market. If you don't grow, you die, essentially. It is what it is here. But again, another example of one of these major companies that are laying off people. You see it in real time. You see it in real time here. He's sitting there in his sweater. Looks like in a nice apartment, I think, overlooking the city. And he got that unfortunate call. Could happen to any of us. I'm sure it's happened to most of us or a lot of us. And it's just unfortunate truth of what today's job market is like. You can never be comfortable. You can never be secure, feel secure. Job security is a myth, essentially. Job security is a myth. If it wasn't a myth before, definitely a myth now. Anyways, with that being said, guys, I really appreciate you for sticking around and watching the video. If you liked the video at all, feel free to give it a like and to subscribe if you feel so too inclined, because it helps with the algorithm and I would greatly appreciate it. And until next time, make smart financial decisions.